aspirational hero.
Move that as move that aspirational move that as move that aspirational move that as move that as move that as move that aspirational move that as move that aspirational move that as move that aspirational
goal. So the aspirational heroes need to be there. They need to be pure 100% from the beginning. They need to be at that unattainable goal of perfection and good and hopeful and inspirational and all of that.
Move that as move that as move that aspirational move that as move that as move that aspirational move that as move that as move that as move that as move that aspirational move that as move that aspirational.
Stop deconstructing heroes. Aspirational or cathartic motivational.
Move that as move that as move that as move that aspirational move that as move that as move that aspirational move that as move that as move that aspirational move that as move that as move that aspirational move that as move that as move that as
To aspire.
Dare you play that clip on Mother's Day? Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another office hour stream. I'm Professor Geek, and I forgot to put my glasses on. There we go. Hope everybody had a great week. Hope everything's going well. And I hope that you're ready for a great Mother's Day tomorrow. If you're lucky enough to still have your mother around, of course. Not to bring it downer on anybody there, but you know, some people, it can be difficult day for some, but hope it goes well. Hopefully at least have some nice fond memories and time with your mother. See, welcome to Ghost Planet Max Inc., Private Eye in Retrospectiva, Darth Enigma, channel member Samuel Proctor said, I won't be able to make it today. I'm going to be watching John Wayne's True Grit, my local vintage theater, the Maven Cinema. Have a good stream. Yeah, thank you. That's really awesome. I wish we had a cinema. Well, I do and I don't. I wish we had a cinema around here that played classic movies, but you would think that people who would go to see a classic movie would know how to shut up and put their phone away and you know, pay attention. I don't know. Maybe it'd be cool. But I'll actually be watching John Wayne tomorrow as well. My mother is she likes the classic westerns, so tomorrow I'm going to show her The Man Who Shot Liberty Valance with of course, classic John Ford film with John Wayne and Jimmy Stewart. Can't go wrong with that. Let's see, Electric Barbarella, welcome. Big Al Presents, popping in. Great to see you there, buddy. Leia Plus Size, Final Fantasy fan. Omega. So many folks here. Of course, my dear sweet sound engraver. Lord Sandwich. Boom her. You brought her, you boom her. Leia Plus Size says, hello, Professor. I know this is a Mother's Day talk, but I did enjoy the Superman video you did on Monday. Well done. Oh, the Superman suit. Yeah, thank you. And this is it's a Mother's Day stream. I don't really have a lot to say about it. I'm going to talk a little bit about it. But tonight was one of those, or this week was one of those where I don't really have a super pressing talk that, you know, we can spend a whole hour talking about just the topic. But you know how they go. I mean, I start chatting about things. You guys bring stuff up and, you know, ends up going there. Might talk a little bit about the whole Batman caped crusader thing. We'll see. But yeah, appreciate the compliment there. Yeah, that Superman suit. I just way to take the Superman costume and make it look like every other MCU costume. You know, because he came from Marvel, and it's just ugly. And everybody's like, wait, you're going to eat your words. Andre Hernandez reminding us that, yeah, I forget the actor's name. Sound engraver will know. But yeah, Theoden. He was also, what's that other movie he was in? The big famous one I'm forgetting. But yeah, it was sad to hear him pass. So yeah, I was going to have my thumbnail tonight. it's so much work. I'm like, well, how do they do it? I was gonna have a picture of like Bob Iger, but have like, big wide shocked eyes, and then have like Kathleen Kennedy and have like tears coming out of her eyes, and have on the screen, Disney is terrified of this or whatever. Bet you I'd have like 50 people in here. Oh, so ridiculous. So ridiculous. You know, some people's integrity is certainly for sale. That's for sure. I forgot about that part of the demo, an Altered Beast back there. Got that eyeball watching me every 2 seconds. It's going to be a little weird. So, when it comes to mothers, yeah. Mothering, as well as Father's Day, the same. But the traditional mother role is something that I think we really should take time to celebrate, even if maybe you're in a situation where you didn't have a great mother. I know that's, a case for some people too, but I think we always do. It's good to take a day, and try to celebrate and preserve the traditional role of mother, because it's good. It's and I mean traditional role of mother, the nurturing feminine. That's something that only a woman can provide. Only a woman can give birth. Only a woman can nurture a child in that way. It's part of the feminine genius, and it's something that, I put the Mrs. Incredible or Elastigirl and Princess Leia on the thumbnail there specifically because I was thinking I wanted to have characters who are still our heroes, are the main characters in their story, while still being traditional mothers, because we could talk about a lot of great mothers. I mean, Martha Kent, a lot of great parents of superheroes we could have put on there. But I wanted to put those two in particular because society today, and it's really due to feminism. It's 100% due to feminism. Whatever wave of feminism you want to blame it on, but it's the idea that, oh, well, you can't, you got to live for you. Don't live for some child, and whether that means, killing your children off and, so you can just stay single and work on your career, or whether it means having children and not being a proper mother at all. And it is true that, to have a child is the ultimate self-giving. I mean, in terms of just like time, I mean, a mother gives her body to her child, right? I mean, I've heard, interviews. I've heard women talk like, there's one woman who was a radio host or whatever, but it was a Catholic radio show or whatever, and she'd had like 4 or 5 kids, and they had them somewhat generally close together. And she said, after the 5th child was, grown and weaned, she was like, I got my body back. And I thought about it, and like, yeah, that must be that, because, the mother carries the child through pregnancy. You're sharing the body with the child, and then using your body to feed the child, quite literally, yeah, so I can imagine, even if it's just one child, at some point you get your body back, So yeah, it is certainly, kind of the height of self-giving in terms of literally giving your own, body and, everything and time and whatnot. And our society doesn't like to reward that. Our society actually likes to kind of shun that and say, yeah, but you need to live for yourself. You need to self-care, this, and that. And no one's saying, they try to make this straw man out of parenthood, whether it's mothers, fathers, whatever, that, oh, if you're going to be the traditional mother, then there's no way that you can be you anymore. It's like, well, that's ridiculous. That's a real misunderstanding of what it means to self-give, in the self-fulfillment of self-giving. It is certainly possible, and I think that you would be kind of crossing the line into the toxic mother, where you got to the point where you lived for nothing but your children, your children were your fulfillment in every way. I mean, yeah, that can cross over into like the toxic mother, sure, but no one's arguing for that. That's not what traditional motherhood's about. So I love the examples of Elastigirl and Princess Leia right there, who are two characters, and those characters in particular, because they still go out and adventure or achieve their heroics. They still do the things that only they are uniquely empowered to do for the world, right? Mrs. Incredible's out there, um, being Elastigirl, using her powers and her unique super stretch powers to um, fight crime. And Princess Leia is out there not being a general, you know, but being a diplomat. Of course, she eventually becomes more trained in her Jedi powers, and that's great. But what I love about those, especially those early books of the EU, like right after Return of the Jedi, especially like from the Thrawn trilogy, even the Thrawn trilogy, and then moving forward, is that she's a mother. I mean, she's pregnant half the time she's going through a lot of these journeys, or she's pregnant with her third child, and the twins are infants, and she is still using her diplomacy and being a diplomat. Both of their powers, you look at Mrs. Incredible and Princess Leia here, both of their powers are uniquely feminine based. Mrs. Incredible is kind of the more the symbolic, she stretches, she's flexible, she's able to, her body literally, she changes into whatever shape her family needs her to be, right? Whether that's, holding Dash and Violet from fighting, across the table in the one scene, or quite literally turning herself into a parachute to save them, turning herself into a boat, it's a beautiful symbolic picture of what the mother does, just alters herself into anything her children need, quite literally. And so that's a great symbolic role. And I love that even though The Incredibles 2 got a lot of flack, which I don't really understand, it wasn't the masterpiece that the first one was, but it was still quite a good film. And what I loved about it was the fact that they tried to take her and let her be the main, the people in the movie. They said, okay, we want superheroes to come back, so let's, Elastigirl, you're a great one. You're kind of a, you're not so dangerous. You're not so, Mr. Collateral Damage like Mr. Incredible is all the time. So you be the one to get out here and kind of be the face of superheroism, bringing it back. And in the movie's all about kind of like, yeah, get out there and, let the mother, have the spotlight and let her do the thing, But what is the movie about? It's her journey realizing that's not really bringing her fulfillment. No, she wants her children. She wants her family. She needs her family. In fact, she can't even achieve the ultimate goal of the movie, defeat the baddie without her family there. So, I thought that movie was great, and I love that lesson there. For Princess Leia, even though she is, being trained by Luke to be a Jedi, and eventually, if you follow the EU all the way, she becomes, quite skilled, in her Jedi abilities. But even right away, like from the Thrawn trilogy into Dark Empire and all those early books, she uses her diplomacy. This is something unique that she learned growing up in Alderaan, from her foster parents, her father. And it's a uniquely feminine trait to be able to really read the emotions of everybody in the room. And, let's put forth some great diplomacy here. Let's make sure we're all on board. Let's keep everybody tempers down, and let's make sure we're going here. I mean, that's beautiful. And she's wonderful at it. And, the books really show that as her superpower. We think like, well, that's kind of a boring superpower, isn't it? Well, not really. Not when you've got a rebel alliance who's trying to be the New Republic, and this is tenuous, connections and treaties and everything like that, still trying to fight the empire that keeps being reborn and so forth. So no, it's great. I love that aspect of it, and that's real motherhood. A lot of people just can't handle that. I've told the story before at some point. I can't remember, but I'll say it again. I was in when I was getting my master's in English literature, I took a class that was, thought it'd be fun, right? It was a science fiction class. I was like, oh, that's cool. No, it was just, how can we use these works of science fiction to further the political woke agendas? It was horrible. But we were reading Neuromancer, which is a great book. And, we read the short story that Johnny Mnemonic was based on and whatnot, because that's part of the universe. And I forget the girl's name, the character, the woman character in that. But in some of the eventual stories that he wrote, she eventually becomes a mother. She has a child. And one of the girls in the class was like, and I just thought, she becomes a mother? Really? I mean, really, that's the only thing you can do with a female character? I'm like, the only thing you can do with a female character? Are you freaking kidding me? She grows a human in her body, feeds it with her body, nurtures it. That's the only thing you can do with a female character. It's just that typical feminist garbage take, on being a mother, So you've got that, or you've got, okay, let's have the children and everything, but they're, it's almost like they exist for you, don't let them keep you from doing your 9 to 5 and your everything you need to do with your life, and make sure you go back to school, make sure you do everything you want to do. Now, there's nothing wrong with working or going to school or whatever, depending on where your life takes you as a woman and a mother, but that notion that, don't let those children dare infringe upon your rights. Well, that's not how that works. I mean, children change everything. So yeah, I like those examples, and I wanted to use those examples on the thumbnail in particular because it's easy for, I mean, you want to talk about great mothers. Like I said, Martha Kent, even, Padme, tragically dying, at their birth, is still trying to protect her children, even if need be from Anakin, So a lot of great characters like that, but I tried to pick two that I think showed the best example to kind of fly in the face of this, we need to redo motherhood or remake motherhood and all this kind of stuff. And, yeah, that's ridiculous. Welcome to Eldritch Fan there. And, Leia Plus Size. Darth Enigma says Shmi. Shmi was Anakin's whole heart, or whole world, and she was taken from him twice. Yeah, but Shmi was willing to give him up for his own good. And that's, Shmi was his whole world, but he was her whole world. I mean, entirely, And you can imagine, we were in Anakin's perspective in the heart, and we stay in Anakin's perspective, in those prequels and the difficulty he has giving her up. But, you can imagine what it was for her to give him up for his own good, so he wouldn't just stay there and remain a slave. Yeah. And, I think about that, I don't really know a mother who's given up a child for adoption, but you can imagine what a difficult thing that would be if a mother was in a situation, whether it was like a young mother, teenage mother, something like that, where she literally knew that she wouldn't be able to give her own child a very good life, and going through a process of adoption or whatever, and giving her child up to a loving couple who would be there. That's, can't even imagine what that would be like, but talk about the, so even that kind of sacrifice is real motherhood, Let's see. Eldritch Fan said, yeah, rereading The Last Command, they'd never be allowed to portray pregnancy motherhood like that today with the kids alive and aware. Kids alive today, aware in the womb. Yeah. It's a little bit like Dune, but that they weren't aware in the womb though. I'm thinking the second Dune book, they were more like infants aware. Yeah. Leia Plus Size says, what I hate is how woke Hollywood is disrespecting motherhood and the beauty of giving birth, mothers hating their children, even harming them. Yeah, I mean, like the woke agenda is selfishness, meaning we need to encourage everybody to focus on the self. Whether that's with their gender theory, whether that's with, movements to, whether it's abortion, whether it's anything, focus on the self. You there, focus on yourself and how you've been victimized, and play that up big time. The world owes you everything. Forget anything that you might have in the way of an obligation to anybody else, unless you're a white straight man. Then you dirty, evil person, you just sit there and give up your life. I mean, that's pretty much what it is. So yeah, I would agree. Oh well, Nathaniel Zlozball bringing back a. What about Mrs. Brisby from The Secret of Nim? Would she be considered a great example of mother figure? Man, Secret of Nim, that brings back a wow. That's a blast from the past. I haven't seen that movie in ages. I'd have to watch it again to really answer your question. But I remember liking it. Even though as a child, it's one of those movies that's like, what? Andre Hernandez says, thoughts on Lois Lane being a mother to Jonathan Kent. I love that. And when it's done well, and when I say it's done well, I'm talking about the Rebirth comics up until DiDio brought what's his name, Idiot Bendis, in there to just take a dump all over it. Those comics, if you get yourself Action Comics too, to an extent, but the Superman line, the Rebirth Superman, was really all about the family, and it was so amazing, so amazing. Every time I talk about how crappy Superman and Lois is, people are like, "What's wrong with Superman having a family?" Did I say anything was wrong with Superman having a family? I love Superman having a family and being a father and a husband, but Superman and Lois ain't it. You want a real good example of that? Yeah, the Superman Rebirth comics were just wonderful. And Lois Lane, even though she finds ways. I mean, she's not just, well, I'm just a housewife and that's it for the rest of my life. I mean, she still sends some stories in and stuff like that. But she's light years away from the, cutting edge, metropolis elite social life, investigative reporter that she is when her and Superman meet each other. For Lois Lane to agree to move out to the Kent farm, or to a farm, in like Clark's upbringing, that's a huge deal. It's a huge deal. And I don't think it's a big sacrifice for her in that she finds no joy out of it, because you think about Lois Lane's background. She grew up a military brat, right? Always moving around, really unable to truly lay down roots, So I think there's a great appeal for her to be able to go to, own this land, and this is our home, our homestead, and certainly to have a child who is a superhero. I mean, that's another aspect. I was focusing specifically on mothers who are heroes themselves. But if you want to look at, whether it's Martha Kent or Lois Lane for Jonathan Kent, yeah, that's to recognize that your child has certain gifts and abilities that the world needs, and that are somewhat going to put that child in harm. I mean, that's a true to life story, right? Because, any child, any human being has a certain level of gifts and talents and abilities. And, they put that out there, and the world's going to, throw stuff at them at some point, and it's interesting. I mean, being a parent, I mean, I know we're talking about Mother's Day, but I'm not a mother, so I'm a father. So you're going to get that perspective a little bit, with Alyssa, it's different. Alyssa's special needs. She's on the autistic spectrum, and she's, pretty severe on it. She's never going to, leave house and go to college or go get married or anything like that. I've got her, for her life. And I love her to pieces, love that. That comes with its own set of challenges, having a special needs child that you need to do kind of more constant, always care for. That maybe, normal children will sort of grow out of toddlerhood or something. But, I was talking to Fan Man, and his daughter is graduating high school this year. So she's about to go off to college. And he's talking about how, he and his wife dealing with their child leaving the house, and what a harrowing experience that is. As I'm sure it is. It's every parent has to go through that, but thinking that's kind of the trade-off, I don't have to worry about that. This is always going to be Daddy's little girl. So. But yeah, but she's got her own sort of superpowers, in her own abilities and her own gifts and everything like that. And for a parent, I mean, certainly a mother's like Lois Lane we're talking about here, takes a special kind of parent to not, as I said, not become a toxic mother and make, say Jonathan Kent her fulfillment, and wanting to be there like a stage mom or something, and but letting him have his, his life, being there to nurture and care for him. And, you have to develop yourself to a certain degree as a parent to be a healthy parent for your child. That word self-care is it's so misused today, and it's usually, taken in a far extreme, but to the basic level of it, there is such, a case to be made for a basic level of self-care. I know that, for example, given my emotional and psychological and temperamental makeup, I need some downtime, some veg time, some introvert time, so that I can really be there for Alyssa and constantly answer all of her questions and do all the scripting and do all this and that. I mean, every parent needs to do that to a certain degree. I know I keep talking about myself, but again, I'm not a mother, so I don't really have that, angle there. You guys are talking about Tarzan here. Darth Enigma says, yeah, let's not forget Tarzan's mother, Kayla, or Kala. saved him from Sabor, raised him despite not being the same species. Two worlds, one family. Yeah, Disney's Tarzan is wonderful, but even in the original film, it's like that too. The original film is like that too. One of the natives on Tarzan of the Apes, I think, was the first novel, and one of the natives kills his mother, and Tarzan is like, "Oh hell no!" Tarzan goes after this guy and gets his revenge. It's like, whoa! Obviously not Disney, obviously not aspirational, but it's good. Yeah, the Phil Collins song, yeah, that was great. I love Disney's Tarzan. That was good. Um, Gentle Savage says, "Prof, in your opinion, when it comes to Superman comics, who do you think is the best Superman?" Oh man, that's can't pick just one best Superman writer. Um, there's a lot of them. I mean, I love Paul Dini, as I said. Um, Tom Veitch is, if I'm pronouncing his name right, is doing the Superman 78 comics, and he's doing a wonderful job. Who was the guy that, not Veitch, is Vendetti. Oh, I said Tom Veitch. That's a Star Wars writer. Vendetti is doing the Superman 78 comics. Who was the guy that did the, I got his name on the tip of my tongue, but that wrote the Superman Rebirth comics. Peter Tomasi, yeah. Dan Jurgens wrote and drew Action Comics, but Patrick Gleason and Peter Tomasi did the Superman run. Yeah, that was great. I mean, of course, I really liked a lot of the things about the John Byrne run. I mean, the John Byrne run's classic. I love the John Byrne run, but you can't just say it's amazing and leave it at that, because he made some really big blunders here and there, purposefully or not on purpose. Who knows? But yeah. So yeah, can't really give you one, but it's a lot there. I haven't seen The Legend of Tarzan with Sam Jackson and Margot Robbie, Andre Hernandez. I want to see that. I have it, actually. I think. Pretty sure I have it. I'd like to see that. Yeah. It's kind of one of those I just meant to see but never got around. Never got around to it. Dances with Incels. Elastigirl's the best mom ever in fiction. She was. She's a great mother in those movies. Yeah. So, I mean, to be honest, that's about all I have to say about the mothers. I mean, I don't have an experience of motherhood, so I can't really go farther into that. Get ready, because June, like I said last year, they chose. I'm sure it's not the only reason, but I'm sure it's an added bonus that they chose to put Pride Month in the month of Father's Day, so we can kind of deconstruct this idea of a traditional father. Yeah, Omega Society doesn't want women to be proper women. And you say proper women, it's not like you're prescribing a lifestyle for them. Oh, you stay barefoot and pregnant and in the kitchen. I mean, no one's saying that. But it's, that's what they want to strawman you into, definitely. All right. So as I said, that's pretty much all I've got to say about the mother thing. One of the other things I wanted to talk about, and we can still, I mean, if you have questions or you have a topic or something you want to bring up about the mothers, sure, we can get into that. I was thinking about one thing, though, that I thought I'd probably talk about somewhat on the live stream, but I didn't really have it developed into a long talk to give, for any kind of, amount of time. But there were the reveals or whatever that came out for Bruce Timm's involvement in the Caped Crusader, the new Batman thing that they're going to do. First of all, people need to realize, if you still think, if you're an iconic Batman fan, if you're a fan of Batman the Animated Series, and you really know who the character should be, and you're really trying to resist this stupid Punisher vigilante knockoff that everybody's wanting to turn Batman into, if you're a true blue Batman fan and you still think Bruce Timm is on your side, you have not been paying attention. Okay, Bruce Timm is responsible for giving us the beautiful aesthetic of the animated series, and he always deserves that credit. Other people had credits, but that's great. Always respect him and appreciate that from him. But it is abundantly clear now that he was not the one responsible for keeping Batman's character iconic or giving us any of that. In fact, it's come out later all the ways he would have ruined Batman, even the animated series, if he had had his way. You had a lot of the executives and editors and whatnot, keeping him in check, basically. And thank goodness he wasn't doing the writing. Thank goodness we had people like Paul Dini and, some of the other greats who worked on that show. When Bruce Timm left the DC animated movies, Man of Steel came out and all this kind of stuff, and they were, going a lot darker and everything. And Bruce Timm returned to DC so that he could do his Gods and Monsters, where it was like, what if, Superman was Zod or something like that? Really deep, dark, twisted, deconstruction to the max. That's the stuff he wanted to do. And he was giving interviews and he said, I saw Man of Steel and I wanted to do that in Superman Doomsday. I wanted Superman to twist Doomsday's neck or kill him right there on screen, and they wouldn't let me. And I'm thinking, hey, I thought you understood these characters. When I was first realizing, he doesn't. He wants to deconstruct these characters. He wants to go dark. And, look at the crap he's done. Having Batman bang Barbara Gordon on a rooftop in The Killing Joke, which is absurd, not even remotely necessary, not even remotely needed in that movie at all. But it's edgy. It's edgy. Let's do that, His Harley Quinn movie that he did was absurd. I mean, I don't need to see Batman, Nightwing, and Harley Quinn, the beloved, these character designs and everything from the animated series. I don't need to see Harley Quinn and Nightwing have sex on a bed. I don't need to see her farting in the Batmobile. I mean, it's just like he was just trying his best to think, how can we tear this apart? How can we, darken it up? So his name attached to anything means it's probably going to be garbage these days, because he's got the power now. He doesn't have people to keep him in check anymore, like he did, with the wonderful Batman animated series and, the DC, animated universe in general. So his name attached is already a huge mark against it. I didn't even bother, so much so that I didn't even really bother looking deeply into everything. One of the things I saw, though, is we have a black Commissioner Gordon. And I got to thinking about this. That's the way that is now. Commissioner Gordon is black from now on. Because if you give these people an inch, they will take a mile. When the Batman came out, the Robert Pattinson Batman, everybody just fell all over themselves trying to pretend that this is the Batman from the comic. I don't have a problem with the cross-racial cast. If the actor's good and if they do a good job, then I don't care because I'm so virtuous and blah, blah, blah. Look, if you don't have a problem with, if you think it doesn't matter, if you think cross-racial casting doesn't matter, as long as the actor's good, as long as the role's written well, it's fine, then that is to deny that somebody's race has any bearing on their life experience. And that's an utter crock of bull. Of course it does. Of course your race, your ethnicity, these have bearings on people's life experiences. And they let a little bit of it shine through in that Batman movie by making Catwoman black. And at some point she calls him a skinny little white boy or something like that. Well, that's the only thing they did. And they really didn't do much, with Commissioner Gordon. So it was fine. You gave them that inch. Fans gave them that inch, and now I guarantee forever and ever, Commissioner Gordon's going to be black now. Batgirl's going to be black now. That's just an accepted rule. There's I found it on Audible. It's called Batman Audio Adventures. I'm not finished with the whole thing yet, but it's like an old-time radio show, but Batman Adventures. And, I'm about halfway through it. There's some things I like about it. There's some things I think are just ridiculous about it. It's run by some of the people who work on Saturday Night Live. Now, on one hand, they do kind of try to set it in sort of a noir-esque era. Robin is a young boy, all this kind of stuff. But they bring that Saturday Night Live, let's make fun of it aspect to it as well, which is just really annoying. And it's too much of that. It's too many times it just feels like a Saturday Night Live skit when that's not really what they, make it for. There's some really great moments. There are some really great performances in it. In fact, the guy who plays Commissioner Gordon in The Batman does the voice for Batman in this Batman audio adventure. And he does a great job. I mean, his voice is, it's just deep. It's like a Batman. He's doing it great. You couldn't tell, it's a voice actor. But guess who they have playing Commissioner Gordon in this audio adventure? Kenan Thompson from Saturday Night Live, from the old, Kenan and Kel Nickelodeon. Now, he's a great actor. I mean, he's a great comedian. I think he's hilarious as a comedian. I've always loved his work as a comedian. But he has a very distinctive, from a demographic point, you might call it a black culture voice. And he just brings that to Commissioner Gordon. He's talking like this. And there's, there's a Batman is there and the Riddler gives a clue. And it's something to do with Der Fledermaus, the opera. And Der Fleder, what now? And I'm like, that's not Commissioner Gordon. What? That is not Commissioner Gordon. But people let him do it. People let him do it. They open that door. And it's this is how insincere, the woke are, because they want to say, how dare you? You're racist then. It doesn't matter what color a character is as long as they're written well. Look, no one's saying that one race is inferior to the other. What we're saying is to deny that cross-racial casting, if you say that doesn't change a character at all, then you're denying the fact that a person's race has any effect on their life experience. And it just does. It certainly does. I mean, and then once they just pretend that it's no big difference, it's no big deal, everything's fine, and they've got their way. And so Perry White is black now, Commissioner Gordon is black now, this is just a thing now, then they can start bringing their whole agendas in. And now then eventually we'll hear about how Commissioner Gordon had to climb the ladder of this police force as a black man, and what the things were against him here and there, I mean, then they'll bring that to the character. And that's fine if you want to do that to a character, but that's not who Commissioner Gordon is. That's never been who he was. Stop trying to pretend you're not trying to remake established characters to reflect your agenda. They're so insincere about it. It's, you're being racist. It doesn't matter what color a character's skin is as long as they're written well. Stop recontextualizing the playing field here. You're denying that their race affects their life experience for a second until you get your way. Then, boy, you'll just bring their life experience in there and change the character any way you want to match your political agendas. So that's really annoying. I had a little soapbox to get off my chest about that. I think I heard somebody say, or I saw an image that Harley looks like maybe Asian or something. I don't know. It's hard to tell. I only saw her in the makeup. Like I said, I'm not interested in this thing because Bruce Timm is attached and he has a lot of power with it. And I don't trust him. I don't really want anything that he does where he's not put in check. He's an amazing artist. He was a great producer. He was capable of some wonderful things, but it turns out only when he's got, parameters set on him, because you let him do whatever he wants to do and he will deconstruct the snot out of thing. He's like Zack Snyder to the 10th power, apparently, which is just so bizarre and ridiculous. Anyway. Welcome, Mark Baker. People who popped in recently here. Seeing what's going on with the chat. Yeah, Mark Baker said, if I want a black Superman, I'll go with Icon. Well, see, here's the thing, and they'll even tell you that. Well, they used to admit this. Now they might be, they're so insincere about it. They only admit what they think will earn them, footing. But they used to say, no, we have to take established characters and make them black or make them gay or make them Asian or transgender, whatever. We have to make them the established characters. We have to turn them into our, into what we want, because they're the ones in the spotlight. And it's due to systematic racism that only they're in the spotlight, blah, 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 blah. And, that's why, Sam Wilson has to be called Captain America. He can't just be the Falcon, the amazing, awesome character he is as the Falcon. No, he's got to have the shield, and he's got to, that's their, don't you dare call Miles Morales Spider-Boy. No, he's Spider-Man. He's also Spider-Man, which makes absolutely no sense. It's absurd. But, yeah. Ultra fan said Harley's story was supposed to be a warning to girls not to fall for the dangerous bad boy. You'll end up in an abusive relationship. Yeah, exactly. Now it's, no, she's an icon, somebody to look up to. I mean, I think it was after the first horrible tragedy of a Suicide Squad movie came out that Harley Quinn was like one of the most popular costumes for girls that year for Halloween or whatever. I'm like, okay, first of all, I don't, little girls shouldn't be looking up to Harley. She's a funny character if you're a child watching the cartoon, she's not a character to be looked up to. And Margot Robbie's Harley is certainly not a Harley Quinn costume that little girls need to be walking around in, for crying out loud. But that's the woke do have this sort of hypersexualization of children, and it's very disgusting and disturbing. Yeah, it's so bizarre. We'll be talking a lot more about that next month, as you can imagine. Let's see. Yeah, Private Eye. It's like the boiling frog. Everybody will think we are crazy. Exactly. Yeah. I mean, if you think about the cross-racial casting or cross gender casting. It used to be a big deal. People were like, no, why are you changing the characters? Like, you're racist, you're sexist. What? Not racism, sexist. The character looks like this. That's what I want the character to be, And that was just obvious to everybody. But then they started giving you a little bit of sugar with that medicine, Oh, well, what if, hey, I mean, yeah, Kynes is changed to a woman in this movie, but it's actually not that big of a deal, guys. The Dune's still really awesome. It didn't really affect the story that much, and look what they did in 2, It's a feminist, running all over and the Batman is one example. There are others, Perry White as well. And shh, just take it. Shh, just accept that. Just accept that. Okay, good. Now we'll keep that locked in place. We'll never change that back, and now we'll see what else we can change. I mean, and fans are just so stupid, so stupid. They think they're fighting the good fight. I gave my super chat to the Friday night crew. I'm fighting the good fight. Are you really? Are you really there? You found a community. Good for you. But you're not changing anything. Oh, well. I am saying a lot of things tonight. Oh, boy. Let's see. Don't give him any ideas. What next? J. Jonah Jameson black? And yeah, Harley's no Asian. Harley is Asian in that one, okay. I mean, hey, if you want an Asian character in a Batman show, freaking bring in Cassandra Cain. What an amazing character. I would love to see her explored in a Batman cartoon. No, it's got to be one of the characters that everybody knows, and we change them, and that's how we preach. Absurd. I mean, can you imagine the amazing stories you could tell with Cassandra Cain in a Batman animated show that was a little bit more, adult, where you could actually bring in some of the themes of her, upbringing and stuff? It'd be wonderful. It'd be freaking amazing. No. Can't do that. Yeah, Jimmy Olsen, he has to be black and gay pretty much, People have asked me this before, what do I think about Sam Jackson as Nick Fury? See, I didn't grow up as a Marvel person, so I think vaguely I knew maybe that Nick Fury was a white guy, but it just wasn't something that was really stuck in my mind. But that's a good example now, because if no matter how they recast or how they reboot, Nick Fury will always be a black guy now, and that is a change. It is a change. I can't really say how that's hurt the character, or not hurt the character. I can't really say how that's changed the character fundamentally, because I didn't really know the character very well. Like I said, I didn't grow up a Marvel guy. I mean, I very much like the character of Nick Fury in the MCU, but I'm sure he has to be changed somewhat. I don't know. Or if you delved into him any further, you would imagine he'd be changed. I don't know. I just can't speak to it because I never really was familiar with the character. He's come a long way from a David Hasselhoff, right? Let's see. Gentle Savage says, funny how Marvel tries to act like they care so much about diversity, even though they race swapped the Ancient One in Doctor Strange. Yeah. No, anything that an ideologue says, you can't trust them. Insincerity is it's not even an immoral thing. They can 100% lie to you as long as it serves their ultimate ideology. Because their ultimate ideology, this is what makes an ideologue. Anything that achieves their ideology. The ends justify the means. That's the only thing that matters, is achieving their ideology, perpetuating it, helping it to come about, materialize it in the world, whatever. anything is game that can help them achieve that. So they will lie straight up to your face. They will change their tactics midway. They will go back on things they've said. Now this is their MO or whatever. 100%. As long as they feel like they're working towards this ideology, so everything is justified that they do. You can't even have a conversation with these people. Let's see. Yeah, they couldn't have the real Mandarin in Iron Man, and that was annoying, and a lot of people, found that as annoying. As much as I liked the performances they gave, in that movie, yeah, the Mandarin's a character. Bring him in. No. And that's too because Hollywood's, just trying their best to seduce that China market, when it comes to movies and in cinema and whatnot. That's why Superman, I think he was in Superman Rebirth, was it? But they had a Chinese Superman for a while that just nobody bought, but they were trying their best to seduce that Chinese market, Yeah, I grew up with DC, Darth Enigma, me too. Now, it's not that I didn't like Marvel. I mean, I did grow up with, like, Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends. I watched the 90s Spider-Man cartoon, watched the X-Men, 90s cartoon. It's just like when it came to going to the comic shop, it was DC. It was DC and Archie comics for me. Even today, I still like Archie comics. Jughead was just an awesome character. But when I was a child, when I was 8 years old, that's when Batmania, 89, 8 and 9 years old. That's when Batman 89 hit, and super, got me into comics big time. And then I saw these comics in the grocery store when I'd be there with my mom. I was like, oh, well, this is Archie. And then I think they still had the New Adventures of Archie on TV, the cartoon where they were like in middle school, and I was watching that too. Love the Archies. And then, of course, Archie's Weird Mysteries. That's the pinnacle right there. And the Sabrina, I used to get those old cartoons and watch. So, yeah, that was my Archies and DC I can tell you about. But Marvel, not so much. And I've delved back into Marvels. I loved... let me see if I've got them here close by. Reading up. I think they're behind some stuff right now. But Marvel Masterworks, they had these hardbound editions of the original, runs. They reprinted in a so Spider-Man, X-Men, Fantastic Four, and I got those volumes. I don't think I have the whole complete set, but Avengers and all of that, and their reprints of the original Stan Lee, Jack Kirby, Ditko, all that work, and that's really great stuff. And I'm trying to get in a little bit more of the great classic Marvel stuff from the 70s, 80s, and 90s. Birdman actually just sent me Kraven's Last Hunt, which I'm looking forward to reading because, believe it or not, I've never actually read it. First super chat of the night from Electric Barbarella. Thank you so much. Really appreciate that. For $5. Says, hey, Prof, I got the courage to reach out for writing services and notice the website is down. Are you still offering services for authors? I am, and especially now, it's good that you mentioned it because now that the summer is here and I don't have a full semester, I'm going to write my email in the chat here for you and shoot me an email here and I will get back to you. Now I actually have the time. Yeah, I do freelance editing, but I just didn't have the time, while teaching and everything. So there's my email address in the chat. Shoot me an email and let me know what you're looking for and everything, and we can try and make that work. Yeah, I do developmental editing or copy editing. I don't really do proofreading. I mean, I could, but that's just a different skill set, and a different. You don't need to be quite as educated in writing to proofread. It's an important thing. Everybody needs a proofreader, my goodness. But, developmental editing is one thing that writers need as they're writing the story, so that the developmental editor can come in there alongside them and say, okay, so I see you're going for this. Have you thought about why you put this here, and that kind of stuff, help you shape it up. And, any editor's just giving you ideas. You're the writer. You get the final say. And then copy editing, I tend to do a little copy editing even while I'm developmental editing because I'm just such a prose person. I tutor school papers as well, and I work at some writing centers. I've worked at writing centers, in colleges, universities throughout the years, and a lot of those tutors are more content focused. like, oh, but you didn't develop this idea as much here, and you need some of that, certainly, like in a college paper. But even there, I'm much more prose based. I'm like, let's take a look at how many complex sentences you use over and over and over again. Do you think you could maybe put away the semicolon? Only Grandpa Joe uses that anymore. Let's stop with that, and things like that. But thanks for asking. So yeah, hit me up. Oh yeah, I don't read any modern Archie comics. They've just tried to change. The Archie comics is another ripe field for deconstruction and ideologue implementation and whatnot. But the cool thing about the double digests, and there are still some new things they put out, like specials and whatnot, that are still classic Archie. But the double digests are classic comics throughout the years, and then they usually have like one new story or two new stories in the classic style, which is really great. I picked up one in the store the other day. I need to take a picture and send it to family. I need to appreciate it. But it's Archie's celebrating the halfway mark to Halloween, which is great, because May is the 6-month mark to Halloween. And that's what we're all getting for it. Man, I'm so sick of summer. It's not even here yet. It's still technically spring. And this, Sound Engraver has to hear me whine about it all the time. I just hate hot, sticky, disgusting summer. Summer's just what you have to suffer through so you can really appreciate fall. Fall's the best. Winter's the second. Spring's third. Summer's awful. Get it out of my face. Oh yeah, the new Archie. That started out pretty cool. It started out kind of not so bad. I mean, Mark Waid hadn't totally gone nutso crazy off the edge yet either. And it started out okay. It was like, all right, I can see what they're doing here. But yeah, it just went weird. It went weird places, and I pieced out on that. Yeah, I used to love the Jughead comics. The Jughead's Time Police, Jughead's Diner. Of course, Archie's Weird Mysteries was always great. Yeah, I still collect that. Archie Comics still has some. Actually, no, I've bought some new stuff since then. But I did like the superhero when Archies would become superheroes. Archie would be Pure Heart, Jughead was Captain Hero, and all that. They had a pretty cool run that Kelsey Shannon did the art for, actually. This was like, it wasn't quite 10 years ago, maybe 7 years ago or something like that, 6 or 7. It was pretty good. Young Savage said, you'll probably ever seen the 2016 Jungle Book. It does a great job at making the story feel mythical. It represents the archetypes you talk about very well. You're talking about the live action, Disney's live action? I haven't seen that. I don't really have any interest in seeing it because it's kind of one of those, why are you doing a live action remake? But if you're talking about the Disney one, because I know that other companies, I mean, Jungle Book is the Jungle Book. It's not technically just a Disney property, So other film companies have made different versions or whatever. But it was Jon Favreau. Now, Jon Favreau attached to something doesn't mean it's going to be automatically great either. But, I could maybe believe that. I mean, it had a great cast anyway doing the voices, right? I used to, yeah, never mind. I'm not going to say that anymore. Don't want to say anything that I might have said before I was married, now that I am married. Gonna leave that in the past. Oh yeah, the Riverdale Jones adventure. Yeah, that was good. Yeah, those Archie Superheroes books are great. So I'm obviously, as you see, winding down a bit here. Got a few more minutes in me, so we can chat some more. But just to let you know, I'm probably gonna wrap it up in a few minutes here. Let's see. Claremont X-Men, Englehart, Doctor Strange is my recommended reading. Yeah, I've heard of those. I mean, I know Claremont and X-Men, definitely. I actually have, it's on my reading list, which I want to get to pretty soon, is I think it's a trilogy of books that Chris Claremont wrote with George Lucas, continuing the Willow story. And this was back in the day. This was long before Disney Plus's, nonsense. I've heard some people say they didn't like it, but, those names attached and it continues the Willow story, I'm going to read it at least, give it a chance, and see. So we will. No, honestly, now that I'm married to Sound Engraver, I'm like, Scarlett Joe who? What? But back in the day, and I used to tell my students, I was like, I can't watch the live action Jungle Book because I'm just not ready to be attracted to a snake, because she did the voice for the snake. It was my little joke. But yeah, now it's like, Scarlett who? And I mean that sincerely, too. I'm not just saying that because that's what the husband has to say. My goodness, have you seen Sound Engraver? She's freaking gorgeous. And all mine. I did watch Tailspin growing up a little bit as a kid. It was good. I didn't watch it as much as like Darkwing Duck, but yeah, it was good. Good stuff. I think did I order it? Disney Movie Club. They're ending, and they had some crazy good sales as they're trying to kind of liquidate their inventory a bit. And I can't remember if I got the Tailspin like Volume 4 or something. I did get all of the Marvel's or Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes. I got that collection for really crazy little or nothing, which was pretty awesome. Oh, there she is. There's my Sound Engraver. She said she might slip away and take a nap, but she came in to hear the important stuff. Wrapping up here in a second, but yeah, Andre Hernandez, I have Batman Ninja Turtles, the movie. I have it. I still haven't watched it yet, but everybody's told me it's amazing, and thanks for reminding me about it because I need to get my butt to watching it. I had heard that too, Ghost Planet, that Berlanti's thinking about ruining Scooby-Doo now. How does he still get work? Berlanti's one of those people that, like a lot of other, like comic writers, for example, they did amazing work once upon a time. Amazing work. Oh, like Bruce Timm too. And then they got so popular, or the culture just got so crazy as it was, and they were just allowed to do whatever the heck they wanted, and they just turn out crap because they're trying to speak to their ideology and no longer to just good stories. Yeah. Very true. All right. So I am going to wrap it up here, guys, and bring things to a close. But good hanging out with you guys. I didn't really know how it would go. Like I said, I had the Mother's Day talk plan, which I did, but I knew it wouldn't go too long. But we managed to prattle on about some different topics. Maybe I got some good cutouts for some videos. We'll see. I do have another video coming tomorrow that's already scheduled to drop, which was a cutout from last week's office hours talking about how Hollywood's forgotten to write. I think I kind of distilled it down a little bit in the editing to a good, manageable size there. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the Iconicast podcast. I know not everybody watches it. It's like an hour long, but I did just release episode 4 of that this past week. And I've got it on some other platforms. I still need to get it on iTunes. I need to work on that this week now that I've got time. But YouTube lets you put a playlist as a podcast, and then it translates over to like YouTube's music player and stuff like that. But my daughter keeps grabbing my phone and deleting my playlists on my YouTube, so I've had to like redo that playlist 3 or 4 times now. But you can find it on my channel. Just look for Iconicast Podcast. Go back in the videos. I have the playlist up now, so you can find it there. It's 4 episodes in, and I'm pretty proud of that podcast so far. We talked about some good stuff. I've had cutouts. Maybe you've seen the individual videos that I had, and you've gotten the segments that way. But I've had some good stuff there. I'm proud of it anyway. Super chat to close things out here. Xerinx, if I'm pronouncing it right. Do you have a list of what to read for development? I just have ideas, but I don't know how to develop them instead of add to them. You mean how to develop a story idea. So you've got an idea, and you want to develop it into a story. I think that's what you're saying. One, you're just asking for a book. I don't have a lot of information for what you're saying there, but I'm going to give you one book title, which maybe you've heard of, maybe you haven't. The Hero's Journey for Writers by Christopher Vogler. Christopher Vogler, Vogler, I believe. The Hero's Journey for Writers. He talks about the hero's journey, but specifically how writers can approach thinking about the hero's journey. So if you've got an idea for a story, and it doesn't matter if you're not necessarily writing a hero story, it's your main character is the hero of the story in terms of protagonist anyway. And that's a great book. That's a good book for how to, approach the different steps. Okay, what is it that this character wants? What is stopping this character from getting what they want? What are the immediate challenges? What's the pacing? What's my overall, trajectory and stuff? So, yeah, give that a try. All right, folks, thanks. I hope you guys have a good Mother's Day, and either tell your own mother or somebody who's motherly a good, happy Mother's Day. And Until next time, keep enjoying and digging deeper into the true blue hero stories you love. See you this week.